What's going on? This your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. During my second Q&A, Jordan P asked a question that the more I thought about it, the more I felt deserved its own video. So that's exactly what I did. I turned his question, can Eminem come back from Revival, into a full-length discussion because there's a lot of variables with that question and I didn't want to just rush through it. So for context, Eminem's Revival didn't sell well at all. I mean, in one hand, it did sell well because Eminem is still outselling most of the rappers of this generation. But for Eminem standards, and this is the most important part, because Eminem standards are different from regular music industry standards. Eminem has been able to thrive and sell so many copies while a lot of artists could barely crack gold before the old rules were changed. Now it's easier to hit gold with streaming numbers factored in, but before it was rare to see artists go gold, but Eminem was doing it with each album. So the first week's sales for Revival were 267,000. Now that's combined with streams. As far as traditional album sales, the people that bought it on iTunes or went out physically to a store to get it, came in at 197,000. So that is impressive, the fact that 197,000 people still felt the need to buy and support an Eminem album. But compared to his last album, the Marshall Mathers LP 2, this is a very low number. The first week sales of the Marshall Mathers LP 2 were 792,000. So he went over gold and he was about to hit platinum. He probably hit platinum in the second week, but that first week was so strong for him. And I feel like you can attribute it to a number of factors. One, it was 4 years ago, and I feel like people buying music was a lot different. I think a lot more people were buying music than today, at least Eminem fan-wise. And streaming was only starting to get off the ground. I mean, Apple Music wasn't even around at that time. It was just iTunes, and you had Spotify. Was Tidal around then? I don't think Tidal was even around. I think those came like a few years later. And so that right there can contribute to why Eminem's sales were so high back then. There isn't anything to say why Eminem sold less than half with this new album. There is not a study out there. I mean, it could just be the times. Another factor could be that Eminem's fans are just growing up and they're not necessarily listening to him as much. Another factor that might have played a role, but I don't feel like it would be a huge role, is the fact that Eminem went after Trump. I know there's like a joke that like a lot of Trump fans or Trump supporters are Eminem fans. And I don't know, I think that's just like the long-running joke on Twitter, but it could be a slight factor. Because, I mean, if you alienate somebody getting political and talking about something that they truly believe in, then of course they're not going to support your music or buy it from there. And I think Eminem did make the right decision calling out Trump, saying what he said on Revival, because I think he's on the right side of this. He says that in his Billboard interview with Paul Rosenberg. Going back to the subject at hand, I don't feel like it's just one thing that necessarily made Eminem's Revival less successful than his last album. I think it's a combination of things. The fact that Eminem takes so long between releases, and in one aspect that is a good thing. It allows people to miss him. At least the hardcore fans, they really want some new material from M. But at the same time, you got to think, 4 years, a lot changes in 4 years. A lot changes. I mean, like I said, Apple Music wasn't even around when M's last album came out, and now it is. So, I mean, that's just one aspect of change right there. So the big question that we're going to now answer and talk about a little bit more is, can Eminem bounce back from Revival? Here's the thing that you got to realize about Eminem. There are superstars in hip-hop and there are very few mega superstars. Eminem is a mega superstar. This guy can go anywhere in the world and bring out like 60,000 people. Like overseas, I've seen it happen. I've seen clips of Eminem performing overseas where there's like an endless sea of people, an endless crowd that came to see Eminem, and they're all going crazy. So the thing about it is, Eminem's stardom is never going to fade. It doesn't matter if he put out bad album after bad album after bad album, there's still going to be so many people around the world that want to see him in concert. And he doesn't do performances as often, so it's always a treat. I think that also plays a factor into people wanting to see Eminem. He'll always have his classic songs, and those are the things that make people want to see him in concert. As far as like future Eminem albums go, I don't know if I can see him rising up in terms of sales. Quality, it's always up in the air. You can always rise up and create a new album that sounds better than everything that you put out recently. M is clearly capable of doing it. Will he? Only time will tell. He does seem like he's not going to go on another 4-year break though. In the Billboard interview, he says that he's in writer mode. And so I'd imagine if he's in writer mode, we might get another album. I don't want to say this year, but maybe next year. Or I don't know what he's planning, but clearly he's writing again. And that right there means there's not going to be another 4-year wait in between. I think Eminem's next album would have to have a better rollout. When you look at the rollout for Revival, it wasn't as strong as MMLP 2. MMLP 2 had, I don't even remember the song titles, but I know he had the Call of Duty campaign that was going, and that right there is a huge push, because that song was everywhere, and everybody was listening to it. So I look at it like the Revival had like a little bit of campaign, and like when Walk on Water failed to really become a big hit, and other songs after it, before the album came out, then it's like, okay, the hype is not going to be as big. Eminem's not all over the radio, he's not all over the Billboard charts, so that definitely hurts a campaign. Not to say that a lot of people didn't know he was dropping an album, but I think a lot of people were kind of tuned out, as opposed to if he came out blazing and had a really hot single that all Eminem fans loved. So I think the next Eminem album needs to, have a better rollout, have a single that's worth pushing to radio, just an overall better campaign, more videos, more awareness, more interviews, just more of everything. I think that could play a factor into it. I don't know if I can see Eminem, like, the sales going down from here. I think he's already hit his lowest. Like, 267,000 first week, that is his lowest. And I know that Revival is eventually going to get platinum. It's going to be gold pretty soon if it's not already. And it'll be platinum probably by March, if not sooner. So clearly, every Eminem album is a success because he's still able to make back all the money that's being put into the album. So to answer the question in real simple terms, yes, Eminem can absolutely bounce back. But it's not something that's really affecting him long term. Eminem is, in his 40s. And as we all know, hip-hop is pretty much a young man's game, sad to say. Not to say that we're not going to see rappers that are well into their 40s and 50s still killing it. Jay-Z is a perfect example, 47, 48, and he's still delivering quality albums like 444. But Eminem seems to be kind of maybe winding down. I don't know how many more albums we're going to get out of him. I don't know how much longer he wants to be. I wouldn't even say he's in the spotlight. I don't know how much longer he wants to like tour and stuff. He has so much money. I'm sure he just wants to sit back and relax. Maybe do something else. I don't know, invest in like a film studio, create more movies, or produce more talent under the Shady umbrella. He's just got Conway and West Side Gun, the whole Griselda, and also Boogie. So there's like development to be done there. There's a lot of things that Eminem can do once he decides to release that final album. But ultimately, Eminem's legacy is not in any way, shape, or form in danger because of a bad release or two. So those are the thoughts I had when it comes to the question, can Eminem bounce back from Revival? I want to hear from you guys though. Am I on point with my assessment? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Tell me why or why not in the comment section below, and then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter @SermonsDomain, and as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching, and until next time, peace.